Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
A magic beyond anything you could ever imagine.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Sagrera Farms on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day.
You really think that's the best idea?
Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
He's quite a piece of work.
Hour 2. Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. We'll talk to Chris Blair coming up in 15 minutes. Luke Johnson in 30 minutes talking Saints. A couple guests coming up in this hour. I wanted to spend this segment. This is probably not a segment for next week. Probably not a segment for it might be a segment for December, but not for next week when you're getting ready to play Alabama. But for this week, with a bye week, I feel like it probably applies. Does to me, at least. I don't know Garrett Nussmeier. I shook his hand in Atlanta at SEC Media Days. I've actually seen him at church a few times. He's been at Mass a couple times in the back. The Palmers can't go into the main area during Mass. We're a bit of a distraction, so we hang out in the back in the cry room. And every once in a while, Garrett did step in there, and I noticed him a couple times back there. But I think a lot of Garrett Nussmeier for not knowing him. I think a lot of the way he's handled himself, both behind the scenes and then once he's gotten into the limelight as the quarterback. I think a lot about the way that he's handled himself on the field. And just in this era, I think a lot about him and the way that his journey has unfolded. And it's just not going to end the way that he envisioned it. And that's a bummer. Like, it's a bummer. When I think about, because I wrote all these columns in June about Jared Jones and Cade Anderson and those guys who had their own winding trails. And you look at Jared Jones, who kind of lost his playing time as a freshman on an incredible team and had to kind of transform himself and become a better, more complete hitter. And then he had the struggles in Omaha where he had the 5 strikeout game, and you had the video of him that I actually took on the practice field, him and Jay Johnson working. And then he has those moments in Omaha, he breaks through and he becomes a national champion, which is the reason he came back. He could have gone to the draft after his sophomore year, came back. You think about Cade Anderson, who got hurt as a high schooler and ended up at LSU, and then was kind of a little used player as a freshman and reinvented himself and became a superstar and was just became legendary in Omaha. You think about some of those guys who finished their stories the way that you want to. And Garrett's story is not going to finish like that. And there's so many great things that led up to it. It was feeling storybook. You show up, and then they bring in a transfer quarterback, and he starts your first couple of years, but you've redshirted, and you come in and played some in the SC championship game when Jaden got hurt, came in and played against Alabama a little bit in mop-up time, and then the transfer portal's there and the NIL's there, and he could move on because Jaden's coming back for a final year, which we thought maybe he wouldn't, and then he decides to, but Garrett doesn't leave. And he's outlasted a lot of quarterbacks over the course of these 5 years and never left. And then last year he becomes a starting quarterback, and he throws for 4,000 yards. And that's a really productive year that put him on some draft boards. And he'd have gone last year, he'd have been a first or second round pick. Like, he would have been. He'd have been a top 60 pick. But he decided to come back. And you could say, well, he came back for millions of dollars, and he got an NIL package, no doubt. So it's not like poor, pitiful me. Like, he forfeited all this money. Like, he got paid to come back. But he decided to come back for LSU. He's always said about how much he wanted to play for LSU. He considers himself a Louisianian, even though he's had to move around a lot because his dad's a coach, and he's coaching Florida, and he's coaching Alabama, and he's coaching Washington, and he's coaching Cowboys, and he's all over the place. But Garrett always felt like he was a Louisiana guy because that's where his mom's family's from. And he decides to come back. And he made that decision to win a championship. And he's on all the Heisman boards, and you're like, looking at this, like, this could be a really cool story. And you're like, this is a quarterback who stuck it out 5 years. I mean, it's very Matt Flynn-esque, right? Flynn only got the 1 year, but like Flynn sat behind the number 1 pick in the draft. He sat behind the Heisman Trophy winner who went second, and now Flynn, because he engineered that incredible national championship team, like, he's revered down here. And it's because he waited his turn and then produced the final stage. And if Garrett Nussmeier had Matt Flynn's defense and Matt Flynn's offensive line, like, he probably would have lived that out. And Garrett's not blameless here. Like, it's not like he's been perfect this year, but he also got hurt. And his offensive line is not good. And the defense is buckled. And the point of this segment is not to suggest that Garrett Nussmeier is awesome and everything crumbled around him. It's to suggest that this story was writing itself, and he gets 18, and he goes to SEC Media Days, and this just hasn't been the year. He got hurt. He hasn't been productive. The team's already lost 3 games. The coach got fired. And I think about Garrett because he's like one of the few guys out there that's been here for 5 years. Well, I don't think the same way about Garrett's journey to LSU as I do some of these transfers that have just come here. I'm sure they're just as disappointed that LSU's not going to win a national championship. But their situation's not quite the same as Garrett's. And I just got to thinking about that because we revere a lot of quarterbacks around here, and certainly he was next up. It was Joe, then it was Jaden, and Garrett was going to be the next guy. And everybody talked about, well, Joe was a 5th year, and he went from his 4th to 5th year. Boom. And Jaden was a 5th year, and he went from his 4th to 5th year. Boom. And Garrett is a 5th year, and he's going to go from his 4th to 5th year, and it's not there. And that stinks. And I realized that they're like this, and I talked about this a little bit on Monday, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. I'm just going to briefly mention it. But like, it bummed me out to hear when Garrett was announced on Monday on Saturday over the loudspeaker that like some of the students booed. And like that bums me out. I talked about it on Monday. I'm not going to go back and do it again. But I hope that Garrett looks back on this as a fun time because I liked his work ethic. I liked his energy. I liked his commitment to the program. I liked his toughness. I mean, you watch these games. He is getting waylaid. That first sack that Howell had coming off the corner where Kern never touched him on Saturday, I mean, he got popped. Vanderbilt, they were beating him up, and he's standing in there like he's not mobile. He's not going to, like, get out of there and move a lot. Like, he's going to try to stand in there and make the throw, and he's getting hit, man. And it's a tough existence back there. And there are plenty of guys working just as hard as Garrett and plenty of guys who are just as committed to the team as Garrett, and I get the whole thing. But he's the one that stands out because of the position he plays, the number he's wearing, and the fact that he's been here for 5 years. And we glorify and spend a lot of time thinking about Jared Jones and Cade Anderson and then Dylan Cruz and Paul Skeens and Matt Flynn, who I mentioned, and Joe Burrow and, you know, those guys that accomplished it all. And they're the legends. They're the happy story. And Garrett's not going to be a legend at LSU. When you think about Garrett Nussmeier's era in Baton Rouge, it's going to be like, well, nope, threw for some yards, coach got fired, and they kind of disappointed as a team. That's the era he played in. He was the face of the Kelly era. And as we've talked about over the last 3 days, the Miles era had its up and downs, but it had the up. And the Ogeron era had its ups and downs on both sides of the up. And there wasn't really the up of the Kelly era except the Alabama game, and that was Jaden. And maybe you would suggest that Jaden was the face of the Kelly era, and I can get behind that. It was 4 years, and 2 were Jaden, and 2 were Nuss. And so that's semantics. It doesn't really matter. But this segment's about Garrett, and it's I'll be pulling for him these last 4, and I'll be pulling for him on draft day because I feel like he's committed. I feel like he's worked hard. I feel like he's been tough, and it just hasn't played out in the storybook fashion that so many athletes in Baton Rouge have had it play out for. Like if you go to College Station right now, you go to Oxford right now, like most cases in Knoxville outside of the baseball team, like there aren't a lot of national championship stories and Heisman stories. They've happened a lot here in Baton Rouge. This is just not going to be one of them. And that's a bit of a bummer. I'll be pulling for Garrett Nussmeier the last four games, and then whatever the next chapter holds for him. Thursday shows brought to you by Sagrera Farms, premium Angus beef, top 1%. You're talking about an intramuscular fat score. Prime is 8 or 9. They're 13, 15, 17, 19. He's got 20s on that farm. The marbling, the tenderness, the flavor. It's all top of the line at Sagrera Farms. There's only 2 places you can get Sagrera Farms beef. The farm, Sagrera Farms, or Supper Club. That's it. Some of the best beef in the country, and it's right here outside of Baton Rouge. If you're looking for a Christmas present for your office, looking for a Christmas present for your kids are grown up, you don't know what to do for the 4 kids you've got, well, just get a side of beef and split it between the 4. Pretty good idea. Sean's happy to help you with all the packaging as well. We'll step aside, come back with Chris Blair next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Look, doesn't have to be a huge project for David Duvall at One Bath and Closets. They can do the full-scale bathroom renovation. They can do it all. Rip that tub out, put a new shower in, rip the shower out, convert it to a closet, handle your vanity. They can do the full-scale thing. They can also do tub-to-shower conversion, 3 to 5 days. Take the tub out, put a shower in, good as new. If you're looking for financing options, they've got them 0% up to 18 months if you qualify. It's David Duvall and One Bath and Closets. Don't just call the handyman down the street. Go with a company that's been doing this for 30 years, with a company that's licensed, bonded, and insured, with a company that's got a master plumber at the ready. It's David Duvall and One Bath and Closets. Find them online and get that free consultation. That doesn't cost you anything. Talk to David. It's OneBathAndClosets.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
Chugging along here, Luke Johnson talking Saints in 15 minutes. Voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair, with us on Thursdays. Chris, anything happened since we last spoke?
No, Hunt. First things first. What are you hearing, bro? What are you hearing? What do you got?
I get a lot of that. I'm sure you get plenty as well. What do you hear?
Yeah,
what do you got? Well, here's the deal. It's October, and they're not hiring a coach until a long time, so I got nothing for you.
Yeah. I picked the wrong week. I turned down that trip to Barbados. I should have rethought that. But here we are. No, I'm with you, man. I mean, it's been a wild week, and the week's not over yet.
I tried to explain. I mean, there weren't very many people in the stadium in the third and fourth quarter on Saturday. I realized that we're not going to get too deep into the weeds there, and we got stuff to look forward to here. But, that was a surreal experience for me. Was it for you?
Oh, yeah. And I'm sure Jacob talked about it on his show. I mean, it was, I would look over to my right up there in the booth, and again, Jacob would he was just in awe. I mean, again, all of us were kind of like, what just happened? I mean, it hit 5 seconds into the second round of a prize fight. It was knees got wobbly and it was over. So I don't know that I've ever been a part of I've seen some bad football, don't get me wrong, but I don't know that I've seen a complete 180 that quickly from what looked like a little momentum. I know they lost a little bit in the second quarter, but it was something to watch. I don't know if I can describe it any other way.
Yeah, it certainly was. And look, we're not here to litigate most of the past, but I do want to talk about one positive because I got it from Frank Wilson's press conference on Tuesday, and I used it because we're moving forward here. But Harlan Berry looked good in that first quarter. What did you see from him?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's the guy that right now you'd be crazy not to feed the football to. I mean, until it's like the old saying goes, run the play until they stop you, and until suddenly he's going backwards. I mean, I don't know if it's. Obviously he's got a lot of skill and talent. He wouldn't be wearing an LSU uniform. But I've asked Jacob on the air a number of times because he obviously knows more about being a running back than I do. For whatever reason, he seems to be the more patient back. Again, he's not going to get gaping holes that you can drive a Mack truck through, but he seems to be the only back that whether it's he doesn't know any better or it's just he's got that type of skill and the ability to slow the game down, he's the guy that at least is waiting until that crease, ever how small it is there for him to get through it. And then he relies on, as I said, his God-given talent, which is being able to explode in those first couple of steps. But to me, that's your running back. He's the closest consistent to what I would say is your RB1, certainly over the last couple of weeks. Now, that's taking nothing away from Caden Durham. I mean, I just think right now, until Harlan Berry shows you he needs a break and taps out after a 60-yard run or something to that matter, I think that's the guy you feed the ball to.
I would have to agree with that. You spent some time around Frank Wilson. How do you think he handles this situation moving forward?
Well, I think he'll handle it fine, and I thought, he certainly won the day, and I think calmed a little bit of the treacherous waters, if you will, with the press conference on Tuesday, because I know it means a lot to him. It means a lot to a lot of guys, frankly, that have been working in that football building for a long time. So, kudos on, I think, kind of setting the tone of what the team's mindset should be as far as, here's what we got, guys, 4 more games. They're not really going to get easier, but we're going to go out swinging and fighting. I saw Jacob, along with some other former Tigers, speak to the team.
Yeah.
And what it means to put on that uniform. And I'm not saying these guys and these players have forgotten what it means, but I think it's important on a regular basis, whoever it is, to remind them that, yes, you're a talented player and you're here because of your skill and the hard work that you put in. But let's not forget what made LSU LSU. And so, again, so far he's checked every box for me. And we'll see. This week is more about kind of settling things down and putting out fires and calming nerves and all that goes with what took place on Sunday, while they're still preparing for football. I think we'll hear a little more X's and O's from Coach Wilson, starting on Monday with the press conference and then obviously leading into the game next weekend.
We've seen the old interim bump and that kind of breath of fresh air for college teams across the country year to year. Certainly saw it from UAB, certainly seen it from UCLA as well. Any sense that LSU could play a little freer, a little without the pressure of the national championship weighing over them?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think there's a couple of reasons that goes in, and number one, it's what you just alluded to. There's always kind of a natural bump and a adrenaline high, if you will, for a change. Whether or not you were in favor of the change or not really doesn't matter. It's just there's a new day here, so let's embrace the new day. And then secondly, I just get a sense, again, going back to very little of what Coach Wilson was talking about Tuesday, but you could see, tongue firmly in cheek, there's some things that they think they should do more of that we can expect to see more of. And frankly, when you look at this roster, there's talent that I think has been underutilized for whatever reason. Is it all on the coaches? No. Is it the players have not made plays when the opportunities were there? Yes. But I think overall, these are some guys that can play some football. And it's an old cliche, but it's so true. If you want to be a great coach, whether you're the head coach, the OC, the DC, the defensive, whatever your position is, put the players in a position to be successful. That's what I'm going to be looking for in practice next week, and certainly not only against Alabama, but for the rest of the season, because I'm just not buying that this roster, the difference between A&M and LSU is what we saw last Saturday. I'm just not buying it.
Me either. How big a deal do you think Whitweek's loss was for that defense? They just haven't quite played to the standard the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think it's huge. I think you and I talked about it last week. Obviously his playmaking ability, his ability to do a great job sideline to sideline in the position he's asked to do. But from what I gathered, asking the questions over the last 2 weeks, they were kind of moving that green dot assignment and tried a couple of guys. So to me, my thing was, I just think the loss of him being the green dot, the quarterback on the defensive side, I think that was also missing, because not only did you not have his playmaking ability, I think he's very responsible and gets a lot of credit, deservedly so, for making sure everybody's where they need to be pre-snap. And, again, if you tell me we tried this guy, and then against A&M we tried this guy, then that tells me that's a big loss when Witt's not out there.
No question about that. Last one on the football side. Coach Wilson going to join you next week?
Yeah, that's the plan. Looking forward to it. Again, I think it's a great decision with all things considered. He certainly has the voice that I think grabs the players. I think the coaches are in favor of this. So it'll be fun to get him on there. And again, we're going to talk about football. That's all we're talking about next Thursday.
I would like that a lot. Also, a thing I'm going to start talking about next week is basketball. The basketball team, next time we speak, will have played a game in the PMAC next Wednesday. We're not going to get in the weeds on basketball right now, but a question here. Your kind of thoughts on Coach McMahon and entering with a whole new cast of characters this year, and they got a chance to get on the floor on Sunday and got a victory in an exhibition game over a Central Florida team.
Yeah, I mean, the staff, indeed. I mean, I've told you before, my office is near them, and I see the hours they put into it and the work they put into it, and frankly, Hunt, the excitement that I've seen been building. And again, I had a chance to watch the exhibition game in Orlando. I think this roster, just by turning on the TV, looks a lot more like an SEC roster, again, with the size on the front line. And really, for the first time in a while, I feel very excited to see the point guard position. And I think, again, time will tell. We got a lot of basketball to play before we get to January. But it looks like that point guard, that facilitator position, is SEC caliber. And again, that's everything I've gotten from people who have watched the practices. They know a little bit about this roster. And again, you can have great individual players. It doesn't take as many to have a solid basketball team. But if you don't have the facilitator that also can score in 2025, 26, to me, you're at a big disadvantage. So, again, the early verdict for me is that I think the things that probably the eye test told you last year have been much improved going into this season. So, yeah, with 100%, I'm excited to get it started on Wednesday.
Not a lot of Saturdays off between now and hopefully July, so enjoy this one. We'll talk next week, all right?
Yeah, no, Jay, he's insistent on playing until late June, and I'm all for it. So here we go. Buckle up.
Sounds good. That's Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers, with us on Thursdays. No coaches show this weekend, but we'll have one next week with Frank Wilson meeting with Chris Blair on TJ Ribs next Thursday, 7 o'clock. So, like I said, football's off this weekend, and you got football the next 4 Saturdays, and then beyond that, you got basketball just about every week, and basketball obviously goes into baseball. And so you've got LSU sports just about every Saturday moving forward, and hopefully, like we said, into July. Jay Johnson made a habit of keeping people in Omaha for 2 weeks. So hopefully that's the case this time around. We'll all enjoy a little bit of time off on Saturday. I'm told I'm doing family pictures on Sunday, so not a complete weekend off, but I don't have to be up until 3 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, which happens sometimes when you have a late game and a post-game show and then a column to write. So take the respite when we can get it. Come back and talk some Saints. Speaking of Sunday, Saints and Rams, 3 o'clock from L.A. We'll talk to Luke Johnson about it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is that website. Jonathan Carver and his team, phenomenal folks to work with on the insurance side of things. You wanted me to be sure to let everyone know, if you have a January 1st renewal, the time to look at that is not like December 20th. The time to look for that is now, because if you look at it now, you've got an opportunity to let the Highland Insurance Group take a look at what your current program looks like, audit that, see where there may be some issues, and fill those voids, whether it's a different program, different line of coverage, or just removing some exclusions, or perhaps shopping it to a different carrier to save some money on the premium. But you can't do that in 3 days. You don't want to do that when half people are out on vacation at the end of the year. Start that process today with the Highland Insurance Group. They will make sure that your coverage is right. They will make sure that your carrier is right. And because of that, your price will be right as well. It's the Highland Insurance Group. They are based here in Baton Rouge, but they're able to help you out statewide. They've got access to captives. They can help you out for your commercial insurance. Give them a phone call or check them out online, HighlandIG.com, HighlandIG.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
Chugging right along here, working towards the weekend. Thursday show is brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. Time to head down to NOLA, talk Saints with our guy Luke Johnson, NOLA.com, and The Advocate. Luke, how we doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I would say instead of chugging right along, we're shucking right along, you know?
It took me like half a second. I went to Oysters immediately, and then I went back, and I was like, oh, the quarterback's name.
Yeah.
Look, man, I've got more on the brain down here with whatever the heck's going on down the street. So it's just very difficult to process things very quickly. But I got there eventually. Way to go. Surprised that Tyler Shuck got the call this week?
No. I think the only reason that I thought maybe it would happen a little bit later is, I mean, this is going to be a really, really tough test. the Rams are one of the better teams in the NFL, and the thing they do really, really well is the thing that kind of Shuck has struggled with in his short professional career and even in his college career. They really get after the passer well. 26 sacks in 7 games, second in the NFL. Jared Verse is awesome. He's got 4 sacks and 17 quarterback hits. He's got Byron Young, who's already got a career high with 9 sacks. And I think 11 guys on their defense have recorded a sack this year. They're really tough. So that's like the only reason that I thought maybe they might wait one more game. But I just think they were like, it's time. They're 1-7. Shuck gets the entire second half of the year. You get to see what he can do against a really tough defense. And I think he might have his struggles, but Kellen Moore said yesterday that he's going to be the guy the remainder of the season, barring injury. So he'll get his chance to sink or swim out there.
You've answered my follow-up questions, but I'll drill down a little bit deeper. So this is purely for the future of the organization, or you think it gives them a better chance to have more wins down the stretch, or we just want to see?
I think it's the last point.
Okay.
Right. They've got, if the season ended right now, they have the number 1 overall pick. Right. They need to find out as well as they can whether or not they have their quarterback of the future in the building. And they got to see it with Spencer Rattler, and it was pretty good, but like, you got the number 40 overall pick on your team right now. He's somebody you obviously invested in. You've invested a lot of time in him. You need to see whether he can be the guy. And it's a weird situation. It's not exactly fair to either Rattler or Shuck. If they're really truly looking at, like, do we need to draft a quarterback, top 3 next year? But like, you are in this situation. You've kind of created it yourself. Now you got to see, because if he doesn't show, I don't think he has to win a bunch of games, but if he doesn't show like some high level traits and some stuff that you can really get excited about moving forward, like, they're going to be in the quarterback market next year.
What's your level of disappointment with the ecosystem around the quarterbacks, the offensive line, the pass catchers, the running game, those things?
I mean, it's pretty high.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you could have made the argument last year that the Saints were a decent to good NFL team that just got hit with an obscene amount of injuries. Yeah. There's no way, there's no way you could really tell how good they were. They've been pretty healthy this year. I mean, the loss of Eric McCoy is one thing, but I mean, Shaheed has played in every game. Olave's played in every game. Kamara's played in every game. 4 of your starting linemen have been in there for every game, sometimes 5. And it hasn't been good enough, and I think that the receivers have been particularly disappointing. It was one of the strong suits of this roster coming in, and they've had some good moments, some big individual games, but over the course of the season, I mean, just like last week alone, you're talking drops and fumbles and not making the play in the critical situation. Juwan Johnson had 2 big drops with Tyler Shuck in there. You're paying that guy $10 million a year. Olave, the interception that Shuck threw, I mean, that hit Olave in the hands. You could have made a better throw. You kind of led him toward the defender, but like, you expect a guy like Olave to make that play. So it's been disappointing all around, just because they've been healthy. It was the one thing this team needed to do, and they did it, and they're still 1-7 right now. So
let's stick to the offense before we switch over to the defense. Like, what's your expectation for Sunday? I can't imagine it's real high.
Yeah, no, I've got pretty low expectations for Sunday. It's just like, I think this Rams defense is gettable in some spots. Their secondary is not great. Their linebackers, I think, are okay, but not great. It's just about the defensive front, though, and those guys have done a really, really good job of both getting after the passer and stopping the run. And that's, like, when you look at this Saints offense, if they're doing anything right, they're running the football and they're keeping the quarterback upright. I don't see either of those two things happening this weekend.
All right, let's switch over to the defensive side of the ball. Like, respectable effort on Sunday. Hasn't been every game, but what'd you see from the defense back in Sunday's game?
Yeah, I think I think it's really encouraging that we're seeing Chase Young play at a really, really high level. like he ate Tristan Wirfs lunch on several reps in that game. I remember one just watching it live. Just it ended up being like an incomplete pass, not like a sack or anything. But he walked Tristan Wirfs right back into Baker Mayfield. That's really exciting. Like if they can get that out of him the rest of the year, and then going into next year, like that makes that 3-year, $51 million deal look really, really good. Especially if you compare him with another like high-end pass rusher. And you've seen some good stuff out. You've seen some good stuff out of like Quincy Riley and Jonas Sanker and Kool-Aid McKinstry making a couple plays in the end zone. Like there's some encouraging stuff there, but I still think it's just they've got kind of bits and pieces on that unit. I think when we're looking at this team and what they need to do to get better, I think it kind of starts with an overhaul of that side of the ball. And just getting more youth in there, letting the young players that are in get the experience they need to where like when you're in a position to maybe start contending again, those guys are really playing important football for you.
If I hand you a crisp $10 bill to take to the window, the Saints will make a move before the trade deadline, or they will not. Where would you place that wager?
I would place it on they will make a move.
Okay.
Just because I think they understand where they are, and I think they know they have some valuable assets. I just don't expect it to be like a fire sale. That's just not in Mickey Loomis's DNA. Like he'll make a move for, if it is something that he thinks can really benefit the franchise. I know they're reportedly in discussions with Chris Olave about a new contract. I don't know exactly where those discussions are, and if Olave is asking for like $29-30 million a year, see what you can get for him, because I think that's probably not a move you want to make if you're the Saints at this stage. I think Shaheed's on the table. I think some of their offensive linemen, maybe some of their defensive players that aren't like rookies or Chase Young are on the table. Like I think they will make some sort of a move. I'm just not expecting them to be like, here's Trevor Penning and Cesar Ruiz and Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed are all gone. Now we're going to try to see what Tyler Shuck can do.
That's fair. I mean, I think keeping some semblance of offensive continuity for the young quarterback makes a lot of sense, just because you got to see what you got in that guy. Last one, just kind of a vibes question. Like, what's the Dome like at this point?
Oh, I mean, like, not good.
Yeah.
It got to be kind of feisty when they're making that fourth down stop, like the goal line stop. Yeah. And it was like shades of what it used to be, but the get-in prices for that game were like $7.
Yep.
And when they're going to have teams in here with larger followings than the Buccaneers, teams that travel more, especially later in the year, teams from the north coming down where their fans want to get away from their weather and go to a cool city. I think we're going to see like a lot of Dome takeovers. It's just kind of where they're at right now. Look, they got a lot of work, ahead of them to build themselves back up into what they used to be. But that's certainly reflected in the Dome.
At least the city's got the Pels, right?
Woo! Yeah. What would they lose by the other night? About 55?
They got outscored 29-2 at one point in an NBA game, which is almost impossible.
My colleague Rod Walker was like, it's the fourth game of the season. They've already quit. I'm like, good God. Good God.
All right, we got a fired football coach in Baton Rouge, 1-7 in New Orleans, and a fired coach coming in the Pelicans. It's a sad scene down here in South Louisiana. We'll keep plugging along. We'll talk to you next week, man.
Yeah, go Green Wave, right?
That's it.
Good
Roll
God.
Wave.
All right.
Maybe his coach, maybe their coach will come to Baton Rouge.
Yeah, maybe so, man. Please just give me some semblance of competence. That's all I want, man.
All right, he's Luke Johnson from NOLA.com, @ByLukeJohnson on Twitter, writes for The Advocate as well, with us every single Thursday. Jordan, would you like to talk about the Pelicans getting outscored 29-2 over the course of a point in the third quarter?
I mean, that's kind of happens every game for the Pelicans. So
that does not happen every. I bet you don't even know what the Washington Generals are. Do you know who the Washington Generals are?
That's the Globetrotters, right?
That's right.
Yeah,
That is what that sounds like. It sounds like the Globetrotters against the Washington Generals, and it's a team that's actually attempting to win early in the season, and they got outscored by 1,000.
Yeah. But like I said, game one, the Grizzlies went on like a 19-2 run, and then Boston went on like a 14-0. Like it's really green. There's really no other thing to say about the Pelicans. You're just I said today in my video, Pelican Scoop on YouTube, everybody.
Check it out.
And, check out. I said in the video today, I'm like, the problem is that I care more than the organization cares. So,
that's a bad feeling.
It's a terrible feeling because it's like, I just said, remember yesterday, I was like, somebody could break into my car right now and leave 2 Pelican tickets and I wouldn't go to the game. Like, that's where I'm at right now. Because I'm not finna go to a Pelicans game, basically like a $15, $16 ticket, and buy a $15, $16 beer. Like, the beer is the same price as the tickets. Like, it's all bad. Between the Saints, between the Pelicans, there's one common denominator between both of those people.
Yep.
So I ain't going to do too much on, about that. But we all know it's the one common denominator between the two franchises. Something's got to give. Something's got to shake. You're 0-4 in the Western Conference in a season where you don't have a first-round pick.
That's the worst.
Yeah, you don't have a first-round
pick. The national so what I've seen on Twitter, the local people are like, this team sucks. This is embarrassing. The national people are going, they don't have a first-round pick.
Yeah.
They traded the first-round pick. They could be bottom 3 team in the NBA. Got no pick. It's unfathomable.
It's really not just the getting rid of the pick. It's more there's no protections on the pick. Like,
right.
It's not like, it's a top 3 protection,
Yeah.
so the Pelicans can get it back, or it's, here you go. Here. So the problem is you do that, and then the guy you took the pick with, Derek Queen, you only played him 14 minutes. He's got to play regardless of the fact, good or bad. He's got to play. You can't have 40-year-old DeAndre Jordan coming off the couch, who wasn't even in the NBA last week, logging a start against the best center, probably one of the best players in his generation, in Nikola Jokic.
No doubt.
That's just like, I could have played 20 minutes last night and it would have been the same result. That's bad. That's bad.
It's a tough scene.
Tough scene, man.
Do we think Willie's going to make it to Monday?
No. He don't even need to make it today. Why is he still hired right now? No.
He's still hired. I'm just asking if he's going to make it to Monday. It's Thursday.
But this is the Pelicans organization. He probably will. He probably will make it. Yes, he actually might make it.
I mean, the NBA fires coaches on the regular. And Willie's just like, did we make the playoffs? No. We get in the play-in? Yeah. Did we get out of that? No. Or like he's just always hired. He just never gets fired. Everyone else gets fired.
Everybody, Mike Malone won an NBA championship.
There are 2 guys that have been won NBA championships
2 years ago, and he doesn't have a job. He's on his couch right now, and he won a championship 2 years ago. Willie Green, the Pelicans haven't won a game in over, I think it was 200 days. It's like half the year, and he has a job. Come on, man. Like, what are we doing?
I mean, we got to laugh. I don't mean to laugh. It's all we can do.
No, it is.
The Pelicans are terrible.
Yes.
The Saints are terrible. LSU's firing their coach. Yeah. It's just bad. It's a bad scene. I don't know what else to do but chuckle here and there.
Look,
I've had some moments of non-chuckles, but this is a chuckle moment.
Look, that's the franchise fault. We're a laughing stock. That's not on you for laughing. You're laughing at the reality.
It's true. We'll close it out next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com. Rentals. They got them at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. You've probably heard me do this read several times. And you're thinking, I just never had the opportunity to get behind the wheel. Well, if you don't want to put miles on your car for your Thanksgiving vacation, for your Christmas vacation, and you want a rental to make that trip, go to Genesis and see them. It's your opportunity to get behind the wheel and see the difference. You will feel the style. You'll feel the comfort, the elegance. You'll see all those bells and whistles. Because I tell you that every model is an IHS top safety pick. And they got them to rent. So go rent one. Go on that road trip. When you come back, I fully expect you'll walk on into the dealership and say, I'm going to need to get one of these when I get my opportunity. It's a luxury brand at a reasonable price. That's the Genesis model. They're on airline at PQ. You can find the inventory online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge online. GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
Shout out to Sean Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. Labor love for Sean Sagrera up there, and he's turned it into an awesome business and a great resource here for us in South Louisiana. Some of the best beef in the country is raised right here. just outside of Baton Rouge. Looking for holiday meats for clients, family members, contact Sean Segura. He'll help you put together a great gift packet of Segura Farms Premium Angus Beef. All right, got one more order of business, but before we do that, Matt just tweeted. I knew this was in the works. I did not have confirmation on it, so I want to pass it along. I do have confirmation. So in an hour and 10 minutes, 4 o'clock straight up, Governor Landry will join Matt Moscona on After Further Review. So Governor Landry obviously had to say what he had to say in the press conference yesterday. He went on Pat McAfee's show today. I talked about what he said in my open today, if you want to go check that out. And he'll join Matt today at 4 o'clock. A lot of media opportunities for the governor, talking about LSU's athletic director and football coach. So he'll be on the air an hour and 10 minutes from right now with Matt. All right, take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Presented to you by Flight by Yingling, the next generation of light beer, crafted by America's oldest brewery. Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Flight by Yingling, next generation of light beer. I can't promise you much, but I can promise you this. I'll be having a Flight by Yingling to this evening. Maybe 2 of them. I will have to say that with certainty after today's festivities. It's the next generation of light beer, 2.6 carbs, 95 calories, all the flavor you're looking for in a delicious light beer, brewed by the oldest brewery in America, Flight by Yingling.
All right, let's start it off with some, I guess, the sorry Saints. Well, the Saints, the Saints will either trade Chris Olave or Rashid Shaheed at the trade deadline. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it.
I'll take it.
If Luke was just throwing out a hypothetical in the last segment, but I did chuckle in the air. If he said Olave wants 20 to 30 million bucks,
that's crazy.
Sorry, sir. Yeah. You can move on. We'll trade you. We'll get we'll take the 5th round pick, and you can move. There's just no shot in the dark that I'm giving that guy that kind of money. I think he's a fine NFL player. He is league average at wide receiver. But if you're commanding, bottom end of number 1 wide receiver money, forget about it. There's just no chance.
Yeah, I'm about to say Olave. When I see him, he's a solid 2 at best. Solid 2. So
catch the ball.
Catch
the ball.
That too. Get some new gloves or something. All right. Alienating former players and not allowing them to come visit practice. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave that. I mean, that's something that Ed Ogeron really welcomed the former players back when he took over as interim, and Frank Wilson certainly doing that. Jacob Hester, Matt Flynn were at practice. Saw Ryan Clark make a stop in at practice. They're going to bring some guys in to talk to those guys because at this point, like you are playing for your tape for maybe your next school, maybe your next team in the NFL, or you're playing for LSU at this point. Your goals are kind of off the table, and you're going to bring some guys in that can just relay how important it is to put that uniform on. And I think that message will resonate to some. It won't resonate to others, but it certainly won't resonate to anybody if you don't have the opportunity and don't get those guys in there to do it. So if Frank knows what buttons to push. He's got a great relationship with former players and a great relationship with the current players. I don't know what the next 4 weeks hold for LSU in terms of wins and losses, but Frank will do what he can to try to keep that thing together.
So I haven't really covered teams this closely. Is that normal for a coach to just, excommunicate the former players?
Football coaches are weird.
Okay.
They're paranoid. Sometimes they let the media in. Sometimes they kick them out. Sometimes they let former players in. Sometimes they kick them out. Brian Kelly gave us the most media access we've ever had.
Yeah.
He let us do whole practices in August. But, some former players felt like they were a little bit alienated. It's just Brian Kelly I'm not ready to do this segment yet. I'm still making some phone calls and talking to some people about what was going on the last 4 years.
Behind the scenes.
Sounds like people skills was low on the totem pole is in generalities, and that's part of the relationship thing that it just did not concern him.
Yeah. Okay. Last but not least, being watched by the government. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it in some senses. I want the government to have its watchful eye over our society.
Yeah.
Individuals, I might pass on that. I don't know where you're going with that, but I think we'll pass on that. We'll leave that right where it stands. It's weird times down here at LSU.
Very weird.
If you missed my opening monologue today, I just talked about the last, I guess now that it's 3 o'clock, 24 hours for LSU and for the state of Louisiana with the governor. I will be listening to the governor on with Matt today at 4 o'clock. I'm curious what he has to say. I opened my show today suggesting, I don't know what the governor's done with hurricane preparedness and coastal erosion and the economic policies that he's put in place. I don't know any of that stuff. I don't spend any time on it. But it crossed over yesterday, and that's where my job comes in, and I gave my thoughts on it. And the thing is, it's been disappointing for me over the last 24 hours in a number of respects. We'll see what he has to say when he comes on with Matt. We're done. You can catch our show on demand wherever you find your sound. We're back tomorrow for a Football Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Matt, we'll drive you home next on After Further View. Have a great Thursday. See you tomorrow.
The Hunt Palmer Show.